Is that the music? My Friends Take Courage by the Lakota Thunder. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman as we continue to look at the growing Indigenous protests against the proposed $3.8 billion Dakota Access Pipeline, which they say would threaten to contaminate the Missouri River. We're joined now by Winona LaDuke, Native American activist, executive director of the group Honor the Earth. She lives and works on the White Earth Reservation in northern Minnesota. She was also the Green Party vice presidential nominee in 1996 and 2000. Winona, welcome back to Democracy Now! Can you talk about why, from the White Earth Reservation where you live, you've gotten involved with this battle against the Dakota Access Pipeline?
Well, good morning first, Amy and Dave. Yeah, our reservation in northern Minnesota is the proposed site, our territory for the Sandpiper. For the past 4 years, I've been fighting the Enbridge Company. The Enbridge Company is proposing 3 new lines through our territory. One of them is the Sandpiper, and that would cross, affecting basically by the time they're done, 5 of our reservations would be affected by these pipelines, which would go by the Mississippi River and through the heart of our wild rice beds. Enbridge has been pushing for a brand new corridor because they have this old corridor. They say it's got, 6 pipelines in them, all about 50 years old, kind of falling apart pipelines. And so they want to, instead of clean up their old mess, they want to make a whole new mess. So for 4 years, we've been fighting them and telling them they cannot do that. And the courts, had ruled it in our favor, and now a full EIS is required, and the tribes are demanding that the process include them, and the tribe should have some say in it. So I was really surprised because Enbridge told us all that the only thing that they could do, it was so important to them, the only way they could get their oil to market was to run it through northern Minnesota. And then one day I wake up and they forgot all about us and they move out there to North Dakota. Seemed very disingenuous to me.
And so you went...
Came out to North Dakota, yeah.
And talk about what you found there.
Well, what I found out in North Dakota is that, the state of North Dakota has been bending over backwards for the oil companies, although the fact is that there are now more lawsuits than active drilling rigs out there, because they were such a big push to develop all this oil in the Bakken, basically bust up the bedrock of Mother Earth, put all those chemicals in it, look the other way and pretend like things are going swimmingly out in North Dakota. So North Dakota's got this landlocked oil. They're taking a beating on it right now. There is an 85% drop in active drilling rigs in the Bakken. Fact is that they don't even have it going on out there, but they are bound and determined to get whatever oil out of there they can. And so they decided to throw this pipeline through. And, North Dakota's regulators are, I would suggest, really in bed with the oil industry. And they have looked the other way, and so they have pushed these pipelines through, really, really fast without any tribal consultation and without a full environmental impact statement. And that's what needs to happen. You need a full environmental impact statement on this. And, I say, what we say is that you should have a well-to-wheels impact. In other words, it's not just hauling the oil. It's not just endangering all those, watersheds. It's not just the fact that, former editor of Scientific American, Trudy Bell, says 57% chance of a catastrophic leak. It's not even just that. It's what about all that carbon? We're sitting here and, in this world where there's been no rain in Syria for 5 years. There's catastrophic storms everywhere. And this pipeline is going to bring about 250,000 per day tons of carbon into the atmosphere. That's what this Dakota Access Pipeline is, and that's wrong. A private corporation doesn't get to destroy things. A Canadian corporation at that. Enbridge isn't even a U.S. corporation. Enbridge is a Canadian corporation, and they have no right to destroy our water, no right to compromise our future.
Can you talk a little more about Enbridge? You recently wrote that Enbridge looks a lot like Enron. Explain.
Yeah, Enbridge is not doing so well. You know, I've been writing letters. I kind of feel like that Roger and me thing. I write letters to Al Monaco, the president of Enbridge. I say, hey, it's Winona down here on White Earth wondering about a few things. They had, you know, a few catastrophic blow-ups last year. And then this year, first of all, June 30th, they lost this big pipeline. You know, Enbridge is in the pipeline business, the Northern Gateway Pipeline, $7.9 billion proposal. They thought they had it with the Harper administration. You know, that was looking pretty good up in Canada. Stephen Harper. Trudeau gets in. Every tribe along the way, every First Nation along the way, and the province of British Columbia is opposing this pipeline, which would take it to Port Kitimat, you know, really pristine area with all these fjords. Anyway, what happens is the Canadian Federal Appeals Court rules that all of the permits are void, that in fact Enbridge and the government have to go all the way back and talk to the First Nations tribal consultation. I had it really hurt Enbridge quite a bit. $7.9 billion pipeline. You know, we got them on the ropes there in Minnesota. They're now in an EIS process, although they would have liked to kind of like skirt around that. But the citizens of Minnesota and the tribes have forced that process. And then you add this little problem. It's called the faulty pipe scandal. What happened is that in July, it was announced in National Observer, National Energy Board leak, that Enbridge and this other company called Kinder Morgan had purchased these pipes from called Canada Oil, and it's a Thailand-based company, Discount Pipes. They purchased all these pipes and valves that are faulty. And the National Energy Board of Canada, Canadian government says, emergency situation. Where are those pipes, Enbridge? Enbridge's lawyers have said they need time to disclose where exactly all those pipes are. Now I'm sitting here, and in northern Minnesota, we got 6 lines crossing through our really good ecosystem. I'm wondering if some of those pipes are there, or maybe they're over in a pile by Lake George next to my reservation. We would like a full disclosure as to where the faulty pipes are that Enbridge has. You know, look at that, and then they got a 40%, their shares are down now, 40% drop in their shares, you know, from 2 years ago. So I feel like Enbridge is not looking so good, not looking so good to their shareholders, and they got a lot of liability they're putting on us, on Americans, on Native people, and trying to force it down the throat of the Standing Rock people. And I feel like that company is not a reliable corporation.
Last month, Winona, the Labor's International Union of North America endorsed the Dakota Access Pipeline. Terry O'Sullivan, General President of LiUNA, said in a statement, quote, "The men and women of LiUNA applaud the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for its fair and thorough review of the Dakota Access Pipeline. For the highly skilled and trained men and women of LiUNA, projects like the Dakota Access are more than just pipelines. They're crucial lifelines to family-supporting jobs," they said. Labor's Local 563 business agent Corey Bryson said, quote, "We've been inundated with calls from all over the country from people wanting to work on the pipeline project. Mainline pipeline projects like Dakota Access provide excellent working opportunities for our members and tremendous wages." Your response, Winona LaDuke.
My response is that the United States has a D in infrastructure. That's why bridges collapse. That's why Flint, Michigan has a problem. That's why everything is eroding in this country. And what we need is those skilled laborers to be put to work, pipelines for people. I'm saying take those pipes that are sitting there in northern Minnesota and send them to Flint, Michigan. They need billions of dollars worth of pipe infrastructure out there. We don't need any pipes in northern Minnesota. I say that most of our Indian reservations don't have adequate infrastructure. We'd like a little help with our water and sewer systems there. I am all for organized labor, but what I want is I want pipelines, I want infrastructure for people, not for fossil fuels, not for oil companies. So I am all for that. There are plenty of people that could be put to work, and it's 5 times as many jobs doing infrastructure for communities, doing for people than one shot throw a pipe down and hope it works out for you. So I'm asking American labor to stand with us and to say we want pipelines, we want infrastructure that goes for people, that goes for communities, and not for oil companies that are going to destroy our environment and cause more climate change destruction to our planet.
Winona LaDuke, we want to thank you for being being with us. Native American activist, executive director of the group Honor the Earth. She lives and works on the White Earth Reservation in northern Minnesota. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. When we come back,